Okay, Tracy, you are.
You cut out, Jason.
Oh, hang on. You're just going live now. Any second now, you'll be live. Someone just said, have they got time to grab a coffee? The answer is no. You're live now, Tracy.
I got water.
Here we are. Here we are. We're on the website now. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry about that. Few technical issues. It seems to happen when I'm on. I've just got feedback, so I'm just gonna mute the mics. Hi, Anthony. With me tonight, I've got Anthony Badaloo. Thank you for joining me. I've had the pleasure of meeting you as well and spending some time with you. Tomorrow will be the 1st of April. That's 5 years since an incident happened with you and your family that brought you on the path you've been on since then. Can you explain to everyone who's listening what happened?
Yeah, well, this was April Fool's Day after they'd illegally evicted us once, and then we took the house back, and then they illegally evicted us a second time, and then we took the house back again, and they made the house inhabitable. So we were staying at a friend, and then one morning the neighbor called us and said there was a lot of people in the house. So I went to investigate. I saw about 10 police and some other people. So I politely walked in and said, this is my house. What are you all doing here? And the officer, Benjamin Kovler, he said, you're under arrest for squatting in a residential property. And there was another officer called Christopher Williams, and about 10 of them, but two of them did the arrest, took me in the car and handcuffed me and all that sort of thing, and took me to the police station. And there's a lot of different details, but I don't want to, kill the conversation with it. But basically, at the police station, they wanted me to sign to the name Anthony Badaloo in capital letters. And I said, it's against my culture and my tradition to it's an insult to sign to the capital letters, because I know the capital letters means it's the legal fiction. And actually, I was there for a good half an hour, and there's about 20 officers came down from upstairs at the Collindale police station. It's quite a big station. And they were calling all sorts of people to kind of say, what's this guy saying? So it was quite a big deal just saying, I want them changed it to a normal writing. And also you realize how much power we have just by asking simple questions. And they changed the computer, believe it or not, on my first name, but they said it couldn't change on the second name. And eventually I signed, but I signed under duress and under protest. And so then they were offering me a free solicitor, a duty solicitor. The guy told me it's a free and independent solicitor. And I said, well, how can he be independent if you are the one picking him? And he said, well, he's independent. I said, well, that's not independence. So eventually I went into the interview without a solicitor, because I know the duty solicitor was going to be on their side, and he's not going to ask the simple question that I wanted to ask. Who is making the allegation against me that I'm a trespasser? Because somebody has to make an allegation. And we have the interview. I did insist they videoed it, and I had a copy of the video. So the video is on the internet. It's called Hell in the Cell UK. And at about 5 minutes in the video, I asked them who made the allegations. And they said to me, the police. So they're obviously protecting somebody because the police can't make an allegation against you. That video is on the internet, like 50,000 people have viewed it. And further down, he said he had an order signed by a judge. I said, where is the order? And where is the signed order you're talking about? And then he said, oh, when I say sign, I don't mean signed. This is on the video of the police interview. So at that moment, I said, look, I'm not interested in this interview. This is not an interview. Goodbye. And I just put my hand over my ears. And that was the end of that. So that video is there. Unfortunately, my so-called solicitors never used the video in the court, the video evidence. Anyway, so that was April Fool's Day. Shortly after that, I was locked up in Wormwood Scrubs jail without a charge, without a court order, without knowing how long I'm there for, and without knowing when I'm coming out. I had a business running and a family with a new baby at the time. So I was waking up day by day in Wormwood Scrubs prison, sharing with some very scary people, not knowing what is what. So if you can imagine, they're trying to break you down, trying to make you, vulnerable or whatever. But I took the opportunity. I was writing everything down, and I was writing notes and using the phone whenever we had a break, because I had no official break. So I was technically in solitary confinement. So tomorrow makes 5 years. It's April Fool's Day. So for the Facebook people, I'm talking to Tracy Blackwell, who is a parliamentary candidate.
I
And
was, yeah, I was. And can I just say,
no,
sorry,
you still are, once you double into their circle, you can't get out. So you're a parliamentary
that's great
candidate. And
news. That's great news. It hasn't done me one bit of favour. I still haven't got further on in my own fight. Just to say to anyone, just so people are clear, on anyone who's jumping on and watching Anthony at the moment, 5 years ago, tomorrow, Anthony was charged with trespass in his own house. And that is what Anthony has been talking about for the last 5 minutes, just to make it clear for everyone. He then was it over that charge that you ended up in Wormwood Scrubs?
well, yeah, what they did, they had a trial, which was about a month later. They had some kind of thing of they no, what it was, I was going about my own business, like 2 o'clock one morning, yeah, of Friday the 13th, and something, um, and then I was stopped by a police van, and they said I was driving funny. I thought, okay, maybe I'm drunk or something, but they didn't breathalyze me for some reason. I told them maybe I'm drunk, and they didn't. This is the thing, Tracy. But this was the police from Ilford Police Station. Now, a couple of weeks before, I had a gentleman called Pete Hoffman helping me, and he was from Essex. So a couple of weeks before, we had made a report to the Essex police station that about my illegal eviction and all that. And there was a guy there called Sergeant Perrett, a very nice gentleman. He said, look, this is a serious matter. I'm not even gonna bother with anything. I'm going straight up to the CID. And he gave us a crime number there and then. And the Ilford police is supposed to be investigating it. So it is the same Ilford police who picked me up at 2 o'clock in the morning in their van. And then they said, oh, they were just checking me out. And then they said, oh, there is something here. Oh, there's a warrant for your arrest. So, hi, Dario. So anyway, when I went in, I said, but there's a crime number here on this matter. They just ignored everything and kept me till daylight and took me in the prison van, in the circle van, to Harrow Crown Court. And then there was a judge called Judge Anderson, who was a military judge. Apparently, he was a war hero for bombing some children in in the Falklands. So they brought basically they brought in a military judge into the case, and all I did to the judge, there was I kept asking him where is the documents, where the papers, who prosecuted me, what, and then he goes, take him down.
Yeah,
And
just for questioning. Just for questioning.
no, they took me downstairs in the base in the cell and handcuffed me, and then in the evening I was dragged off to prison. So there was no trial, there was no charge, there was no no court order. Hi John, big up the
Was
king
he trying to
massive. Huh?
was he trying to charge you with contempt of court then? Even though he was a military judge, that's just for the
No,
military.
there was no charge of anything.
No charge.
I kept every day I kept asking them, I said, can you tell me why I'm here? And nobody can give me an answer. So I just wake up each day not knowing when I'm coming out, what I'm there for, but you know what, they got this thing you call an indomitable spirit. You don't let anything bother you. You just you are just you. You're a like a self-contained. You know what I mean? So I just waited and waited, and I was able to talk to people on the phone. So I was kind of running my business. My secretary was great. My daughter took time off her work. She was fantastic. We kept the business going. So we could pay the bills and stuff in the meantime. And the lawyers, they took a lot of money from my daughter.
So from that happening to you, which was terrible, they've turfed you out of your own home, they've accused
Yeah,
you of trespass, they've put you, your family, and your children onto the street,
yeah.
took your home illegally. Um, from there, was that what put you on the journey, learning the law
Yeah,
and learning about the
that's
court
when my
system?
journey started,
Yeah,
learning the law. And we had this gentleman, Peter Hoffman, who had some problems himself, and his family had a business in Ireland, and they fought their case, and they managed to get the bad guy jailed for 7 years. But they had to really pester the police and the authorities. But he said every morning when his mom woke up, she was on the phone to them, and eventually they kind of succumbed to it and took action. And he opened my eyes that these people were corrupt, because I always trusted the authorities. I always believed they were, I abide by their rules and stuff.
well, we grew up, even for me, learning that we had this great, massive, good British justice
Yeah,
system.
yeah.
Yeah, again, that's an illusion. Yeah, it's an illusion. Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, so it just went on and on. We kept fighting and fighting. We got it's 4 properties they took off me, and I kept going like a burglar in the night, putting on disguising clothes and turning up with builders, climbing ladders in the dark to get into my own properties. So my nephew was living with us, Christopher, and my daughter Romy, and myself, and my other half, Jacqueline Campbell, who is a NHS nurse, and her name was on the property. So um, if you can imagine, 4 properties repeatedly being taken, and I'm trying to take it all back and being so scared of them. Yeah. Because they keep my nephew we moved into a flat around the corner because they kicked our tenant out. Yeah. With a 3-year-old baby. That this tenant is now working for the BBC, God bless her, and she's still fighting the case. She's still asking, how did I get evicted? Where is my documentation? You know, where is the court order? Where is the inventory for our goods? And actually, this tenant, when she got thrown out, they took the baby's things, and they went down to the police and said, "Look, what's going on? I want my baby's things." So the police actually came and told the bailiff, who is from Marston's. Marston's don't have any right to evict They can only evict squatters, masters. They can't evict. So anyway, we didn't know all this at the time. Um, the police actually told the bailiff to give the family back the baby sticks. Now, the police didn't arrest the guy for illegal eviction, which carries 7 years in jail. So, because the flat became empty, we moved into it. Then the next thing we know, one of my ex-staff member called Manoj Gondi, a guy who worked with me 15 years, he turned up one day and told we had some guys decorating. He told them it's his property and he's come with police and this and that, and they must leave. So by the time we got around there, they locked them. Three of them locked themselves inside the property, and I'm trying to force the door to get in, and I managed to kind of open the door a little bit. And one of them, who is about 6'9" or something, a big guy, um, he punched. He pulled the door. The other one punched me in the face, and there was a bit of a swelling and stuff. So when we report to the police said they're bailiffs, and they came to check out trespassers. There was a guy called Sergeant Purcell in Barnet Court. He says, "Oh, my officers are good. They know a good bailiff." I said, "Well, where is the proof of a bailiff?" Eventually, he gave me a crime number for the incident, but they never done anything about it. And we pushed them, and they said, "Oh, the punch in my face, they're not pursuing it because I didn't complain on the day." But I did complain on the day, but I had to go to the doctor. But it was like late in the night. It might have been after 12. I don't know. But I did go down to the police station. So it just goes on and on. So we had this. After that, my nephew moved into one of my other properties, and I moved in with him and stuff in Harrow. And then one day when I was out, the police came there, and believe it or not, they kicked the back door in. You ever heard the police kicking the back door? And my nephew had the title deeds of the property on the table. He showed it to the police. He said, "This is my uncle's property. I'm living here." They said, "No, we're arresting you for stealing costume jewelry. We had a report you stole costume jewelry." So they dragged him out and took him down to the Acton police station and locked him up and drug tested him. Well, my nephew is a little bit of a bad boy, so you think if you drug tested him, you would find something. But they drug tested him, and he was actually clean. So I think they were surprised. And when we go and managed to get him out the same night, we went back to the house. It was all boarded up, or we couldn't get in. So this is the kind of treatment that goes on and on that we've been through. At one point, my wife, who is a NHS nurse for about 30 odd years now, she never had any time off sick. She had to take 3 months off sick and go to Spain with the baby because the baby had a heart condition. It was recovering at the time. Had to go and kind of get away from it all. She had gone to Spain. This is crazy. Manchester, Spain, and the police wasn't helping us. They were treating us like we're the criminals, and all these people who were kicking us out. We don't know who they are, where they come from, what right they have. So I wasn't the type of person who is gonna give up. It's like the more you fight, do you know what I mean? The more motivation. And along the way, I must say I've met a lot of great people who helped me in one way or another. And I've managed to help a lot of people and learned a lot. And we've busted at least 50 cases now. And
So this is all since this has happened to you,
yeah,
and what you and your family have gone through. your house is being illegally taken off you, 4 of them, and it's clearly obvious that they did that stunt, because that's what it was, with your
Yeah,
nephew, so
yeah,
that they could board up that house and take that house. Um, so from there, obviously, you learned a lot about the law
yeah,
uh, and the courts,
yeah.
and from that, you've been able to help other people.
We've helped a
Uh,
lot of people. Yeah.
yeah. So, what is it you found out about the courts along the way?
So what we found out is that basically, um, if you want to do crime, you could say crime is the most profitable thing because you didn't work for the things, you just took it. Yeah. So if you wanted to do crime, the problem is to get away with the crime. So the only way you can do a crime and appear to get away with it is if you have, hi Yvonne, if you have a, if you say you have a court order. So what I've discovered is that there's a whole gang of people in authority, what I call the E gang, which means the elite gang or the evil gang. These are judges, MPs, council leaders, police, and the administrative infrastructure are all running a court order scam. So all the crimes that they do, which are violent crime, yeah, by throwing people out, taking their cars, kicking their door in, whether it's for a gas bill, your council tax, whatever, all they're doing is making up fake court proceedings and then saying that what they're doing is not a crime because they have a court order. So the police says it's with the court. The MP says I can't interfere in court proceedings. One tells you the other. They have a whole lot of agencies called Citizens Advice Bureau, Action Fraud, various regulators, IOPC, Financial Ombudsman. When you check all of these, none of them have jurisdiction on criminal matters. And so what it is now, they're bypassing the trial by jury by setting up all these regulators. I have it in black and white from all of them that they do not have any jurisdiction on criminal matters. So basically, you can do the most violent, horrible crime, like throwing my baby on the street with a heart recovering operation 3 times, throwing my nephew on the street 6 times, and steal the property. The properties were all sold to companies that don't exist. There's a company called Questmark Limited bought 2 of my properties, and this company can't be traced anywhere. The HMRC, so I'm an accountant, I'm an agent for the HMRC. I check with them. Did anyone file a bill of sale or for my property and the goods in their tax return to you? Because they are trying to force me or bully me to do tax return. I said, I'm happy to do the tax return. You get me the bill that these people filed so I can put it in my return because I haven't had a bill. So what I found out, Tracy, John Thompson, who is the head of the HMRC, and all these people are in cahoots, because not a single one that I've worked with, over 300 cases that we can trace where they sold somebody's property from an eviction and filed returns with the HMRC. So the HMRC knows this. So I put my complaint in about one of my specific property. I found out the lawyer didn't pay the stamp duty, and I followed it, and I found out other people were complaining and stuff. And it turns out he was routinely stealing the stamp duty money and putting it in his own pocket. So this lawyer got jailed for 3.5 years. It's a guy called Anthony Marach. So his firm is from South Harrow. Now, one of the estate agents that was renting our property he stole rent from the tenants and stuff. He also got 6 months jail. So we're making some kind of progress to get a little justice. But from the time that happens, I should automatically get my property back. And all these other people, all the cases we've investigated, bar none, they're all fraudulent, all fake. And the court cannot produce no material to verify or validate that there was an authentic claim in the court, because these people got no contract to file. They cannot file accounts. So it's a court order scam. And that's why I have the petition that is running very successfully, because most people who have launched similar petitions, people like Tom Crawford and all that, they've managed to kind of shut them down or send trolls after them. Or so this is the only petition of its type that has been stood the test of time, and I hope it can blow up now, because in April Fool's Day we got COVID-19. We're gonna pass 5,000 supporters now, and when I started, the phrase "court order scam" didn't exist on Google. The last time I checked court order scam on Google, it passed 20 million occurrences in the algorithm. When I mentioned it on Facebook, Facebook deleted it. So we must be doing something good.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? When you're shadow bagged on everything, you know you're hitting a nerve, and you're correcting what you're saying, and doing good. It's just the hardest thing. The only hardest thing gets is getting it out there.
Yeah,
You know, what's going on. And I know when I read your Scam Buster TV, which is
yeah,
very important for everyone to look at after, to sign, have a look at it, because this is about us all. You know, this is why we do these shows, and this is why Wake Up
yeah,
UK was formed by Jason, so we can get these stories out there, show that it's hitting every
yeah,
community
yeah,
suffering in a different way. Now, with, Anthony, he had his, homes taken off him, which we've said at the beginning, just saying for anyone who's new to join, land grab. And everything he's been put through since then, him and his family, and what he has found out. And, he has found out that the courts give out false court summons to you. And we see this. I see this recently with the Yellow Vests when they were in court, how
yeah.
fraudulent those cases were.
They can't stand up to any scrutiny whatsoever.
Yeah, and then what you get like what you had when you was then stopped, and it's a bit like gang stalking, but the gang stalkers are the police. You know, when you're getting stopped for driving, when
Yeah,
you've committed no offence, and they know full well before they've stopped you who you are.
yeah, yeah,
I've seen it myself when I've gone up London and gone up the steps at Westminster. When I've come out the station, some coppers have come past, seen me, and done a bad turn and start following me. You know, because obviously they know we're there, and they know full well who we are, and they treat us like the criminals.
yeah,
It's them who are the criminals.
yeah. So yeah, you had some personal thing. Is it two sons you have who died,
I
Tracy?
know one son and
One.
his and two of his friends.
So your son and two of his friends died in an unfortunate accident, or maybe an accident, or
No,
very
no,
suspicious.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's all
But,
right. It's all right. It's all right
but
because the media portray it as that. It's
yeah,
like it's psychological, isn't it? It's like predictive programming. Because the
yeah,
media portray it as that, that's what goes in people's heads.
yeah,
Yeah, it was deliberate. Yeah,
yeah. But the thing where I'm trying to help you is to investigate when you've been dragged through court and fighting and grieving, and you're still grieving, and in that vulnerable state, um, you were all under the impression that the court proceedings were legitimate, and the jury you seen, and the officers, and everybody else. And now we're beginning to cast just a little bit of doubt whether those proceedings were actually what they seem to be, and what happens with cases like that, criminal, all cases really. Because to be honest, every case is technically a criminal case, because if there's crime involved, it's a criminal case. But it's civil court, and the thing is now, uh, when we get caught up in the drama, and they like to give us large bundles of papers and force us to have these solicitors and who never question the procedure. They want to dig into the drama of the case, and we get trapped in it. Um, and we go along that path, and it's like a Paul Daniels magic show. The true uh, the true nature of the uh, court proceedings underneath the case is totally fraudulent, and nobody is looking there. This is the uncharted territory, and this is where we're looking. And on my nephew's case, he was prosecuted 3 times, and these duty solicitors made him plead guilty. And when we started to investigate it our way, we've won all 3 cases, and they've offered compensation on 2 of them, or costs, according to them, costs. So we haven't run and accepted it. We want to get to the bottom of matters. It's not about money.
Yeah.
So we're still saying, we still want to know, was there a persecution, or was I here just with, spend 2-3 years on a fictitious matter? So, on one incident, a motorbike guy hit my nephew, and he might have been wrong or right, but instead of prosecuting the motorbike guy who had no insurance, they prosecuted my nephew and had him in a 2-year trial. And the worst thing is, the motorbike guy kept turning up to court to give evidence against him. Can you imagine how scandalous that is? Now we had also a letter from the county court, Barnet County Court, about my nephew, that they said you've never been part of any possession eviction proceedings, in black and white. Now he's been evicted 6 times. So come on, the council, they must do something, and that's why we're saying on this April Fool's Day, we're not fools. You are the fools. You are foolish and criminal. We gotta do something. You gotta restore us. They stopped my income at the FCA. I built up my income over 30 years. I worked very hard, and they stopped my income, Andrew Bailey, on the basis we were criminal. I was criminally convicted, and they can't get a court order. They can't get nothing. Now the court has put in writing that there was never any prosecution against me. So all the trial, all the prison, all the crown court, all the jury, all the prosecutors, the whole thing was all make believe. Can you imagine?
I can, because I've experienced it, and this is what I try and say to people: unless you're there and you actually see it, some people just can't believe it. It's worse than a kangaroo court. It's worse than a kangaroo court, because that's exactly it.
It's a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to tell people, you have to try and avoid court at all costs, because it is not what you believe. It's not a place where you get justice. All these judges are working as part-time consultants to the banks and to the big corporations. And I heard recently, the last few days, that these judges are also getting a bonus for every guilty plea they get. So they come to they call you a customer, right? They call you customers now in the court. They come to you when you're totally innocent, and they say to you, well, you're gonna get 2 years in jail, but if you plead guilty, they will cut it down to community service. And you think, oh my God, I don't want to go to jail. So it happened to me on May last year. They arrested me, so they had a warrant. I didn't pay a court fine apparently. And when it came to the thing, the duty solicitor said, if you don't agree and make a payment plan with them, they're going to lock you up for 3.5 months. So my answer to her was very simple. I said, if you're going to lock me up for 3.5 months, I will sign anything you want me to sign. Yeah, just bring the papers quick. So she brought the papers. So I signed the papers, and she was so happy, like she won the lottery. But I put under my signature, under duress and under protest, I've never been served with any proceedings issued by the court. The police officer told me there was no warrant. I'm the arresting of the what they call a civil enforcement agent. So when I put that at the bottom of it, it kind of upset the apple cart. So when I go in to the in front of the so-called magistrates, there were 3 of them. They all asked me my name. So I told them my name, and I said, I'm a man, you know. And I asked for their names. And they start looking at each other. I just stayed quiet. And I said it nicely and quietly. I was very tired and everything, but eventually they gave their name. I didn't write it down. I didn't have a pen and paper. But while I was in the cell, I had written my own so-called, not a defense. I don't do defense. I do a counterclaim. Yeah. So I handed it to them, and then they said to me, I said to them, they asked me my address. So I gave them the address of my house that was stolen. And they looked at each other like, you know, what on earth? So they didn't say anything because the court fine allegedly was for trespassing in the address I gave them. Because if they said to me, that's not your house, I would say, well, show me the proof. I never sold my house. I never signed nothing. How did it stop being my house? So they then said to me, you can go. And they never took any money. Then later on, when I came home, I attacked the magistrate court where hello, Dr. Prasad, the magistrate court where the whole thing started, because I have about 20 case numbers. They breed, yeah. So the magistrate court, after a bit of prompting, put it in writing. I said I want the prosecution documents, because from the time I was locked up in jail, I was asking my lawyers, EBR Attridge, a big firm in Tottenham, get me the prosecution documents. Every time he emails me, I reply with the same thing, like a broken record. Get me I can't discuss with you until you get. Eventually, he said to me, Mr. Badaloo, I'm sorry, I can't work on your case anymore due to professional embarrassment. So it took me another 4 years. Now the Hendon Magistrates Court put it in writing that there was never any prosecution. So this is nearly 5 years after I got it in writing. So now I have it in black and white. There was no prosecution. Before that, I asked the Barnet Court for a copy of my court file. They sent me 6 pages. And they won't, until today, they won't let me see the court file. So when they sent me the 6 pages, I took it straight to the information commissioner. And I said, look, this is out of order. This is what they gave me. What are you going to do? So they got a bit scared of it. And they passed it on to the Lord Chancellor, who was David Lidington at the time. So he got scared of it. So he passed it back to the court, Barnet County Court, Barbara Mortimer, the court manager, and said, you answer the man's questions, please. So they wrote to me in black and white, Tracy, they said, there is no judgment against you. In black and white. And there was no fee paid here for any warrant, and no fee paid for any court application. So I had that in black and white. I have now the magistrate court in black and white saying there is no prosecution. So, okay, I took and I have it in black and white from that my nephew was never part of anything. I have in black and white for my wife that through the MP, Teresa Villiers wrote to Susan Ackland Hood at the Ministry of Justice and said, I want a copy of the orders against this lady, please. And she wrote back and said, there is nothing against this lady. So we've got in black and white all this confession. So I took it all and I put it to the Court of Appeal where the FCA's case is, and said, look, here is a confession. Please make a ruling in my favor, because this is new evidence. It's totally a counterfeit claim, and here it is in black and white. So we took it by hand to the Court of Appeal, and they stamped 3 copies. We served it on the FCA. This is since the 10th of December. Now, despite us, when I came back after Christmas, I phoned them up. I said, I haven't heard from you. You know what they said, Tracy? They said, we haven't got anything here on the file. Now we have it stamped. So that's why you need to get your document stamped, because you can prove you filed it. So we said, no problem. We emailed it. And the Court of Appeal is not answering. And the FCA is not answering. And the FCA, they probably owe me a couple of $100,000 in lost fees and whatever I could have earned in the interim. So we're talking a lot of money. I can help a lot of people with that money in the Corona lockdown. And all they can do is just keep quiet. And in the meantime, Andrew Bailey got promoted as governor of the Bank of England on the back of all this. Yeah. So the thing is, I want some result now. It is more than enough. Yeah. The case is broken. I've broken the back of the case. I want some justice. I want some resolution. I want my money. I wrote to my MP when they announced the lockdown and say, look, there's a lockdown. I need my wages. I've written to them and they haven't responded. Can you help me out, please? Hello. She stayed quiet. She did write to the council, Teresa Villiers, just before the election. Because I said, look, I want this matter sorted out because the council want to prosecute me that I don't have a right to vote from my home address. So I said to the council, I want you to show me how I lost my right. So they won't answer. So I asked the MP, and give her credit, she wrote a letter to the council. This is what Mr. Badaloo says. Would you be kind enough to deal with the matter? Something like that. So the MP wrote to them. They don't answer, so they're quiet. So this is when you get them where they can't win, they can't move, they can't do nothing, and they stay quiet. So this is April Fool's Day. I want a result. Yeah, they want to pass legislation about coronavirus and all that. How can anybody trust the government? Did you see the program about Tony Blair?
No, I didn't see that, but just to say, on the 25th, they actually passed the bill for coronavirus 2020, but on the 19th it was declassified, but by the Public Health of England. And the coronavirus bill, I urge anyone who haven't read it, go and read it. Go and read it, because it's about taking your rights away. Even though they've done it, and in your human right, you've only got the right to freedom of thought. Yeah, very cleverly. Wordplay,
Yeah.
Anthony. I know part wordplay. I know Delroy knows a lot of wordplay, and words have different meanings, like we said before we started. And what they actually done with you, if I'm getting this right, and I know I've seen the piece of paper myself that
Yeah,
clearly
yeah,
states you wasn't issued proceedings, legal proceedings by the
yeah,
court.
yeah,
So what's happened? They've taken your four homes. They've illegally taken you to court, made it look like there was a court
yeah,
proceeding
yeah.
to all this, when there was never no laying of information on the court system until by a judge.
Yeah, nothing was proper, and it's it's so many millions of people, and we've investigated
Yeah,
approximately 300 files. Myself and Mr. Eber, who started 20 years before me, he's got a garage full of people's files where he investigates because he dedicated his life to it. He's written a book called The Forensics of Legal Fraud, where I learned a lot of my stuff from. And these need to be opened up and dealt with, because if Tony Blair can go and the government can go and invade Iraq on the basis of a dossier, which is a student essay, that doesn't have anything with reality, and kill how many children, and now he's charging so much an hour for speeches and doing deals with tobacco companies, whatever. How can anybody trust the government? How can people believe when the government says coronavirus is so contagious and so bad and so nasty, and therefore you need to comply and do all these things? How do we know they're not cahooting with a vaccine company? Or people just can't have a trust in this situation.
yeah. This is what I tried to say the other night when I did a live feed. You know, I have my opinion on it, and it's for people, as you know, and people watching this to research and find their own, and always do what's best for you and your family on what you believe to be true. You know, but when I done a live the other night, I tried to get people to think. Yeah,
Yeah,
because with psychological warfare, psychological warfare, and there's nothing more contagious than fear. And fear spreads, and it can bring on
yeah,
psychosomatic stuff. You know, if once you know all this, you've only got to cough a couple of times, then people are going to assume they have it. There's the elderly locked down in homes that, I used to do a lot for the elderly and care for the elderly, and I know how many didn't have family. What's happening to them? They're locked indoors. They can't get any food supplies. I know they're doing this delivery service online from the government. That's just to make them look
yeah,
good.
yeah,
And I try and say to people, stop and think, when have they ever done anything for you? They haven't. But they put them, all they are salesmen. So they're just selling you to you all the time this illusion that we're doing this for you, this is in the best interest of you, and so on
yeah,
and so
yeah, yeah.
and it is not. And
Your best
everyone
interest.
knows, or the majority of people know, that the mainstream media are fake. Yet they're
Well,
believing,
they're highly controlled. Basically, the journalists are not self-employed, independent people. They
yeah,
are working for a corporation,
yeah,
and we've been putting out very good scripts and things, and for a couple of years now. I can't believe not a single journalist or major press have picked up on the court order scam, which is the biggest story of the nation.
absolutely.
But
Yeah,
it is buried because how many people are victims of the court order scam? Compare that to Corona. How many people died from it being evicted and harassed and fraudulent mental health court orders, child
yeah,
abduction orders? Everyone we've investigated has been not proven to be authentic. So how big is that of a national emergency? And I'm saying on this April Fool's Day, when I was arrested in my own home, and it's on video, it's on camera, the officers came back after that to threaten me, and I videoed them. That video is called Criminal Cops Caught on Camera. There's nearly 300,000 people have seen that video. And one of the officers did resign, but one of them is still in his job. He's probably going to get promotion, you know. So I'm asking the Prime Minister, Lord Chancellor Rishi Sunak, who is the nephew-in-law of Neil Berry, That's funny, isn't it? Apparently, his dad was a tax agent who used to go around to all the Asian ethnic restaurants and eat and count the heads on the tables, and then uh, grass on the restaurant owners of his own ethnic minority people, and now his son is the chancellor. Is that how you get
Well,
promotion?
yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's how you get promotion, all of them, but by being bad and by being corrupt. That's how they all do it. Um, so you're absolutely right there. Carry on. Sorry, Anthony.
Yeah, so I mean, this is where we are in our fight. We had the investigating officer on our case, Sergeant Peter Dearden. Um, I've sent him the information. He's on my WhatsApp. And I said, what's the procedure now with all this? So he just don't answer. So everyone is in a position they're not answering. So what do you do? But lucky, not luckily, but at least one solicitor got jailed. One estate agent got jailed. The court has confessed on so many cases, against us. So I think it's only fair that we should be that we have it documented now beyond any doubt that our case was a fake and it's been confessed. We don't have the resources to take on all this might, the council, this, that, hundreds of. At one point, Stacey, I had 100 fake warrants against me for all things: my car, my house, my balls, whatever you imagine. Everything, and every single one have been proved to be false. Just me, one person. How many other people? Do you know Neil Berry? Every week she has an illegal warrant dropped through her door. Every week. And we call these people and video it and record it. We offer them the money and they can never produce, but they keep coming back because nobody is stopping them. This is the pandemic in the country. Yeah, this is the pandemic. Fake. I did a freedom of information request. How many illegal bailiffs have been prosecuted for violating Section 135 of the County Court Act 1984, which carries 7 years in jail for making false claim to the court authority? They won't answer. They said it's publicly available. So I can't find where it's publicly available. My belief is zero. I got one bailiff, Christopher Fantis, sacked, and I believe that's the first and only one I've ever heard of. But they should be, I don't know, thousands, tens of, and not the bailiffs. The bailiffs are the victims, Everybody wants to attack the bailiff. But these are generally guys who are struggling, ex-nightclub bouncers and whatever. And they are being used and manipulated by the bosses, people like Garrett Hughes, who are making billions and they're not getting punched in the face. And they got all this money on the offshore accounts, all on fake warrants being manufactured and pumped out by I would say, by the millions.
Absolutely. Sorry, I just got sidetracked. Jason, are you listening? Sorry, Anthony, just a sec. Are you listening, Jason? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you seeing on YouTube that they're stating some of them couldn't get onto this channel, the usual route, right? They're coming through, watching me and Anthony on Andy Divine's live.
Yeah, I can see that your guest is streaming it on his channel, and Andy's then shared it. It's not on Andy's live. He's just shared your guest.
Oh, right, okay then.
Miracle of technology, yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
But we do have 58 people watching right now on this channel, which is really weird.
Couldn't come through on the link
Oh, I
Jason.
see.
Kenton couldn't
Finally,
either.
you, yeah.
So
Oh,
I'm
it's Kenton.
thinking,
He's a technophobe.
Well, if you not nothing,
no,
and
shadow band, I think it is. I think
It
it's
could well
shadow
be.
band.
they're
It could
blocking
well
you.
Sorry,
be.
Anthony. I just wanted to check.
Yeah,
Carry on. Anyway, so where were we at? We were at. Oh, you was talking about the bailiffs, and
yeah,
that why you're mentioning them. I watched a video that you
yeah,
did,
yeah,
and I think it's another important thing for people to know
yeah,
this.
yeah,
And because I mean, I saw a video you done where you made a call. It was all done, and the call was on
yeah,
loudspeaker, so it could be
yeah.
heard.
As you
And
do.
the bailiff clearly states to you that Capita run Barnet Council, Capita,
Yeah,
and
that's a bailiff
Capita
called Mr.
run
Some
the
Deluxe.
NHS. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm presuming if they run Barnet Council, they may run many other councils. Now,
Yes.
how can Capita run the council? And they run bailiff, they run a lot of things, Capita.
Capita is running a lot of things, but the Capita here in Barnet, there was a couple of them were jailed because what they were doing last year, just recently, they were doing compulsory purchase orders as if they were the council because they got that little department of the council on shops and stuff and property in the borough. So when it's a compulsory purchase order, um, then they get to sell the property really cheap and buy it back themselves through other names or whatever, and we're making a business out of it. And they were jailed. But of course, it's the bosses that need to be jailed, not the little minnows that, and Barnet Council wrote me a letter, the head of fraud department. First of all, I went to see my counselor and said, what happened to us? We want something done. And the next thing, the counselor told us she's going to do something. And then the next couple of days, we had a phone call from the head of fraud department called Rob Dunsford. And I thought, whoo, the fraud department, they're going to lock the bastards up now. Next thing he said he wanted to prosecute me because I'm using my address when I'm not entitled to use the address. So I said, fine, I can come right down there right now. You can handcuff me. I just want to know, how did I lose my right? Yeah, I want the document. And so that's where I got him to stop. And after 3 times, I said, my fee for false allegation is £1,000 a day from the beginning. So after a while, I sent him a bill for 400,000 and asked him for his private residence and all that. And he completely left me alone. Now, interesting thing, when my house was stolen, mysteriously, the council stopped billing me for council tax. Do you understand? Because legally, the council has the duty to investigate illegal eviction. So if they stop billing me for council tax on that property, why? Who notified them? How did they know changes took place? Because before you evict someone, you have to give to investigate illegal eviction. And in my case, there was no notice to the council. So why did the council stop billing that address for council tax? When my other address, they're still billing for council tax, even after somebody else's name is on the title. It is so weird. So I asked the guy, I said, can you give me the document on which you rely to stop charging me council tax at the address? So all along, with all these legal dispute and legal abuse, there's one thing in common you find. It's very simple. Imagine you went and you stole something. Yeah, you stole I don't know, a sack of gold coins. So you got this sack of gold coins worth a lot. What do you have to do? What's your next move you have to make by definition?
I wouldn't have a clue because I've never stolen a bag.
Never stolen anything. Okay.
I have a clue.
I'm not going to tell you what I've stolen because it's, But listen, you have to hide it, don't you?
Yes.
Right. So after every crime, there comes concealment. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So anytime anyone does a wrong against you or is abusive or all this court fraud going on, you have a job, you're dealing with concealment. Yeah, because you know for one thing they cannot disclose to you what they need to disclose by law. So they must conceal. Now, according to the law, concealment is, if you use the Fraud Act, it, it's failing to disclose information that the law requires to be disclosed. That's 10 years in jail. If you want to use the common law duty to be open and transparent. That's up to the jury. What? So at all times, the minute you confront these people, they're automatically, hi Marva, they're automatically concealing. So at all times, we're dealing with concealment. And this is the only thing they can possibly, only move they can make now. They've done it dirty, they've somehow benefited. And now they're going to spend the rest of their life concealing. And if you know that now, Tracy, it can narrow down your fight because you know they're concealing and you know you have to dig and you have to find ways which either they give you the information or they commit a further crime to conceal more. It's called compounding of criminal activity. So we're in this perpetual game of trying to get them to give us, in my case, I'm asking for 5 years. Where is the information that was laid against me to prosecute me? It took me 5 years to get it, but I finally got an answer. There was no prosecution. But still, I haven't seen the court file. Because if I was to see the court file, there would be a lot more things. But the original sin is always the first move that is made. Where is the original documents? There's a lady here called Marva Tucker. She's on the Facebook now. In her case, the Nottingham Council took 12 properties from her on the basis of liability orders. Now, these liability orders all got no court case number. We actually have a letter or a compliment slip stamped and signed by Nottingham Magistrate Court that there is no such proceeding in the Magistrates Court. Now, we had these bankruptcy documents signed by someone called Helen Barrington, who works for Nottingham Council as the person who instigated the proceeding in the court. And we have about 3 or 4 documents signed allegedly by Helen Barrington. They're all a photocopy of the same signature. So we made the inquiries and all they do is fob off. They can't answer. So it is unfair that all victims like Marva, the funny thing is they took 12 properties from her. She's got a little house or flat or something, and they want to evict her from there because she's not getting enough universal credit to eat. And they can't produce any proof how they lawfully stole her 12 properties. And we got the proof from the court in black and white, stamped and everything, that there was no proceedings on these liability orders. So all I'm saying to the government today on April Fool's Day, tomorrow, whatever, don't take the nation for a fool anymore. Look into the court order scam the same way you looked into the coronavirus and do something about the victims, because this is causing more harm than the coronavirus. The people dying from coronavirus is a tiny fraction of the people dying from being victims of court order scam. So we want action. I wanted to restore me and my family to begin with, as we're first in the queue maybe, but there is a lot more. Every damn court claim must be investigated, and where there's a counterfeit, it should be like PPI. The victim shouldn't have to fight. People don't have the resources to put up this kind of, 5 years of your life, 24 hours a day. People don't have this kind of resources. You must, Mr. Boris Johnson, Mr. Rishi Sunak, and I don't know who the Lord Chancellor is. I lost count. They change every day like underwear. Uh, you must do something on this. You must do something. Today, the petition is going to pass 5,000, I'm sure, with Tracy Blackwell's magic touch. She's a parliamentary candidate. You have that label for life. And you must do something. And the nation, this is what can restore the nation. All the people who have been victim of court order scam be given back compensation, and the perpetrators be subject to a trial by jury, and that will restore the nation. Not only will they get some money, but they will get the renewed vigor. A burden will be lifted off their shoulders. A knife crown will go down, because the parents of these children are not being harassed and hounded by all these court orders that don't exist.
Yeah, what we need as well, Boris Johnson, if you're listening, but I'm sure some of your common purpose people are. We need natural justice, and we need natural justice. What should be natural, none of us should be fighting out here. You shouldn't have gone through what you and your family have gone through, and then what's put you on this journey for the last 5 years. I shouldn't have. There's many thousands of us. It's to the working people, the working class, and the poor that this happens to. And not only are they allowing murders on our streets that are still going on, believe it or not, even though there's
Hey,
hardly anyone out there.
NHS nurse just joined us. Hello.
Yeah, hello. And the abuse of children, they're not just doing that. They're taking people's homes, they're taking people's shops. Because since your video, I looked
Hmm.
up to see if I could find anyone else, and I found
Yeah,
another gentleman where they went and took his shop and the flats above.
yeah,
So they're stealing people's properties
yeah,
on top of it. And these people just think that they can do that to us. And just to say, with regards to the bill, remember it's all about consent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Consent of the governed. Yeah,
And we don't consent to have one person, this is in the coronavirus 2020 bill, not one person to state whether someone has to be put in a mental institution. Yeah. And and remember, in look it up yourself, in the coronavirus 2020 bill that was passed after they'd declassified it, that they do not have to give any confirmatory medical evidence to the crematorium. So they can just take bodies in there and just give them without a reason why they're there, or
yeah,
without a reason why they died. And the other thing is, the coroner does not have to give an inquest, which this is important. Coroner, it's all in your face, it's hidden in plain sight for you to see.
yep, yep.
Coroner does not have to hold a jury, an inquest, unless the person passed away. Although, in our case, they just didn't do it at all. So we're still fighting that.
Yep,
Unless the
yep.
person passed with a notifiable disease, and COVID-19 is not a notifiable disease. What does that tell you, people? Anthony, I'm really sorry. We've got to finish now because
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, we've done a
next
great
host
job. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, next host is on at 10:30, but I would love to have you back on here another time, maybe in 6 months' time, so we can tell people where it's gone from there. And obviously, I'm going to speak to you anyway because we do. And everyone, thank you for listening tonight on YouTube and on the Wake Up channel. Jason, thank you for hosting. Anthony, I'll just leave the last minute with you to say your final words.
Well, oh, what's this? I'm hearing your voice on here.
You've got
What's
to turn
that?
the mic off.
Okay, that's gone. You should see my setup here. We've got a very sophisticated. Anyway, yeah. So all I'm saying is, Mr. Government, Mr. Boris Johnson, the common law is the real law. Consent of the governed, trial by jury, Magna Carta, Bill of Rights, blah blah blah. You can't just do what you like and be dishing out 35 billion to your friends and ignoring 85% of the population. It's not what you were elected for. So all I'm saying, investigate this court order scam, restore us. We've had the case broken down, and all the other people where it's very clear, computer record shows it's a scam running, and you can't say you're not aware of it. So please do something and leave a legacy, not an embarrassment like Tony Blair. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining. See you next week. Thank you,
Bye.
Anthony.